Hello and welcome back to another character creation video. My name is Lumin and today we're having a look at Caves of Qud. Caves of Qud is a science fantasy roguelike epic steeped in retrofuturism, deep simulation and swathes of sentient plants. Come, inhabit a living, breathing world and chisel through layers of thousand-year-old civilizations. This game has been in development for over 15 years and is finally ready for its full release. And yes, it does have a full character creation system. There isn't much of a focus on the cosmetic side of things, but it is insanely detailed nonetheless. There are a whole bunch of different races, there are tons of different options. It is super fun. There's just so much. And I'm going to say right here at the start that you should play this game. If you like a good and deep old school experience, this is the one for you. This one right here. Now, if you'd like to do a deep dive to discover all there is to discover about Caves of Qud and its full release, you can find some links below. And as always, there will be timestamps. In this video, we are going to be firstly just discussing everything that's available when you first jump in. Then I'm going to take you guys through all the different options available for character creation in terms of the features in the system right here. We are going to look at the presets available for characters. That includes the Mutated Human presets and Trukin presets. We will go through the full customization, all the options available, and then at the end we will randomize a few times to see what it spits out at us. Now, right here at the start, I'm going to say the tutorial that they have here actually covers character creation. So if you want a more curated experience going through character creation, the tutorial will help you out, and it'll get you started on the right footing. So I heartily recommend that. Then, along with that, you get to choose your gameplay mode. You get to choose how you want to play the game. There's a classic mode, which is basically just Caves of Qud. But just know that there is permadeath. When you die, you're dead. You can go for a roleplay mode, which is basically the same, but you get to save at settlements. And it's more of an RPG that way, less of a roguelike, obviously, because you don't lose your character when you die. Then you can do Wander, which is actually a very interesting mode because it allows you to go through the world less as a combatant and more as a spectator, which is kind of cool. You don't get experience for killing, but you do get more experience for doing discoveries, for interacting with other characters in the world, and so on and so forth. Then there's also a daily mode, which gives you basically one run with a fixed character and world seed, and it sort of cycles every day. It's also sort of a curated thing because they give you one every day that everyone gets on the same day, but, you know, it is changing constantly. Now, when you do jump in, then your first option here is the presets, which we're about to have a look at. You can make a new character, you can randomize, which will be at the end of the video, and then you can actually save and load characters using codes. So you can build a library of characters that you like, that you enjoy, that you want to jump into, and that's kind of a nice feature to have. And you can also go with the last character. It sort of saves your previous build. All right. That covers the basics of the basics. Now we're going to jump into the presets. These are kind of cool. So your first big choice is your genotype. You can be a mutated human or Trukin. They both have their own benefits. They both have their own pros and cons. And honestly, it's a very tough choice because there's just so much going on here. The mutated humans have mutations, they have moderate starting attributes, and they also have a negative reputation with the Putus Templar. I don't know much about that, and I'm sorry, I don't know much about the lore in the game, but it is something to keep in mind, obviously. Then the Trukin have higher starting attributes. They have access to cybernetics, 20 bonus skill points each level, bonus resistances based on arcology of origin, and then they may rebuke robots. Let's look at these presets. These are kind of cool, by the way. You will find something that's good here. And honestly, there's no shame in going for a preset because once we jump into the customization, you will see that it is kind of... it's a deep system. It's expansive. It's a lot. I'm just going to say that. It's a lot. So first preset here is Marshtor. Charge-based melee fighter. Ability to freeze enemies. Highly maneuverable and most survivable start-in build. It's always good. Then we have the Dream Tortoise. I love it. I love it. I just want to say that. Dream Tortoise, melee fighter, highly armored, emits sleep gas to disable enemies, And then it's also highly survivable, start in build. Most of these are, you will see. Then we have the Gunwing, primarily a ranged fighter, quick and maneuverable, it can fly, and it's also, once again, a highly survivable build. Then we have the Star-Eyed Esper, and again, the models are kind of sick. A mental-based ranged fighter, effective crowd control and map vision. It's only got medium survivability, which is still pretty survivable. Firefrond, hybrid melee fighter and mental caster, ability to set enemies on fire. Causes harvestable plants to grow nearby. A challenging start-in build. And then we have Bzzzt, which is just fantastic. Hybrid melee fighter, electrical attacker. Burrower and trap setter. Starts with night vision, and that's a challenging start-in build. So that's pretty cool. That's a nice variety. Then that's the Mutated Humans. Now we're going to jump onto the Truekin. Here we have the Praetorian Prime. It's a charge-based melee fighter. Starts with night vision, and it's the most survivable start-in build. Then we have the first Gardener. It's a hybrid melee and ranged fighter. Starts with cooking and gathering. Also highly survivable. And then finally the first Child of the Hearth. That is a melee fighter, an extreme bruiser. Starts with carbide hand bones. I could not tell you what carbide hand bones are. Okay. It's maybe like knuckle dusters? I don't know. Also highly survivable start-in build. Now you can just select any of these and sort of progress and start the game, but hey guys, where's the fun in that? We are going to jump in and make an actual character, and I'm going to show you how many more options there are available. So when you jump into the customization proper, you once again have the choice between Mutated Human and Truekin, and here you'll get to see why they have these bonuses versus why they have these bonuses. For the Mutated Humans, we're going to jump into them first. They have access to mutations, which are pretty huge. That's the reason they have only moderate start-in attributes, because the mutations can make or break a character. They can sort of, set the stage for the entirety of your playthrough. And then, as I mentioned before, they have minus 600 reputation with the Putus Templar. So let's jump in and see what's available here. This is your calling. This is basically your start-in, I'll say quote-unquote template. This gets you started on the foot that you want to get started on. And this is also obviously your cosmetic choice. So you're going to be seeing different models here. This is what you will be starting with. You'll start with the one that you pick. First we have the Apostle. It has +2 ego, customs and folklore, intimidate and proselytize as abilities and skills. And these are all unique to these choices that you make. So for each calling that you pick, you will get access to certain things, and you might not get access to those things on other characters. So this is probably your most important choice right here. Then we have the Arconaut. It has extra agility, short blade, tinkering, scavenger, acrobatics, spry, and starts with random junk and artifacts, which I love, by the way. Then we have the Greybeard, -1 strength, +3 willpower, cudgel, berate, calloused, and 100 reputation with bears, because why not? Gunslinger, this one has +2 agility, pistol, akimbo, and 200 reputation with mysterious strangers, because they themselves are obviously a mysterious stranger as well. Marauder, +2 strength, axe, dismember, charge, and butchery. The Pilgrim has 2 willpower, self-disciplined, fasting way, iron mind, and wayfaring. Then the Nomad, 2 toughness, wayfaring, wilderness law, salt dunes, harvestry, withered, 200 reputation with the Isachari tribe, and it starts with a recycling suit. The Scholar has extra intelligence, tinkering, psychic, nostrums, tactics, customs and folklore, harvestry, and then wilderness law, random, wilderness law, random. It gives you basically a random wilderness law ability to start with. Tinker is extra intelligence, tinkering, lay mine, set bomb, disassemble, repair, tinker 1, and then 100 reputation with the Barathrumites. Yeah. Begin with a number of random artifacts and scrap as well. The Warden is extra strength, +2. Longblade, shield, shield slam, bow and rifle, pistol, and then 300 rep with a Fellowship of the Wardens. That sounds like a really cool all-rounder. Water Merchant, which just sounds super weird as a class, but here it is. +2 ego, short blade, snake oiler, 200 reputation with water barons, allowed entrance to many settlements for purposes of trade, and starts with trade goods. And then our final choice, water vine farmer. Extra toughness, cooking and gathering, harvestry, axe, wilderness law, that's the marshes, plus 100 reputation with the villages of Joppa. That's one of your starting locations. 200 reputation with the Farmers Guild, and then starts with random cooking ingredients. Now, when you pick one of these, you'll jump into the next part, which will give you the mutations. So we're going to jump into that next, because we are busy, obviously, customizing, as I mentioned, the mutated humans. So for the purposes of this video, let's go with the Pilgrim. It just seems like a decent starting point. Now, it just keeps going. I love this, by the way. These are your mutations. You have points to spend. You can see down here, points remain in 12. You can randomize the selection. You can reset the selection. Now, each of these costs a certain number of points. So if you go for multiple legs, I'm just showing you how it works, basically. You click that once, it'll cost 5 points. Then you only have 7 points left, right? So you get to make a choice, basically, based on that will fill out those points of yours. And, you know, once you fill them out, you're good to go. I'm also going to point out that certain of these will lock out certain others, right? So if you go for, as you can see, you select multiple legs, then you can't be an Esper. But there are a lot in general. So we're going to go through these relatively quickly. I'm not going to cover each of them in excruciating detail. And we're just going to look basically at what's available. You will notice that some of them cost way more and some of them cost way less. This is something you're going to be working on, by the way, all the way through your game. You're going to be, you know, evolving things, changing things. It is, in fact, still very much a role-playing game. So, morphotypes, Chimera. You only manifest physical mutations, and all of your mutation choices when manifesting a new mutation are physical. So you're making a choice here, basically, and then whenever from this point forward you get one, you've locked yourself into that archetype, you could call it. So whenever you manifest a new mutation, one of your choices will also cause you to grow a new limb at random. It's kind of sick, right? Then on the sort of flippity flop side, this is the Esper. You only manifest mental mutations. All of your mutation choices when manifesting a new mutation are mental. So once you click that, it locks you out of all the physical ones, and then you only have the mental ones. And there's a lot of them, so I wouldn't care too much about it. The same thing goes for the Chimera. You can't go for the mental ones once you've picked that. But you can go for unstable genome. You gain 1 extra mutation each time you buy this, but the mutations don't manifest right away. Whenever you gain a level, there's a 33% chance that your genome destabilizes, and you get to choose from 3 random mutations. So those are 3 very impactful starting points that you can go with. You don't have to, obviously, but I do believe that it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Then, physical mutations, we're going to go through these way quicker. I'm just going to read them to you, but I will scroll over them so you can happily just pause the video and check what they say. So for physical, we have adrenal control. You regulate your body's release of adrenaline. Beak. your face bears a sightly beak. It's amazing. Burrowing claws. You bear spade-like claws that can burrow through the earth. Carapace, you're protected by a durable carapace. Dude, it's so cool. There are so many cool ones here. Corrosive gas generation, you release a burst of corrosive gas around yourself. Double-muscled, you are possessed of hulking strength. Electrical generation, you accrued electrical charge that you can use to discharge to deal damage. And some of these are huge. They have massive, as you can see, descriptions here. Electromagnetic pulse, you generate an electromagnetic pulse that disables nearby artifacts and machines. Flaming ray, that one pretty much explains itself, as does freezing ray. And these are quite expensive, by the way, so they're probably quite strong. Heightened hearing, it's pretty cool. Heightened quickness also explains itself. Horns shut out of your head. I love the art, again, by the way. I'm going to say that a lot while we jump through all these different options. Multiple arms, you have an extra set of arms. And then multiple legs, pretty cool. Night vision, you see in the dark. It's kind of a useful thing to have, by the way, because if you, like me, spend a lot of your time just wanting to explore constantly, then, night falls, it's just more time to explore. So so instead of relying on ulterior modes of light in the environment, you can just go for night vision. Phasing, you may phase through solid objects for brief periods of time, which is pretty cool. Photosynthetic skin, You replenish yourself by absorbing sunlight through your hearty green skin. Quills. Hundreds of needle-pointed quills cover your body. And now I want to also just at this point just pause and say to you, consider some of these options. You can pick like a few of them. Imagine you pick multiple arms, multiple legs, and quills. Just think of how that character would look. Or if you pick something like quills and then you pick a beak and some burrowing claws. And then suddenly you are some weird little creature that doesn't actually exist, but you just made a reality. You know? Because why not? And there's actually a nice example, by the way, of quills disallows carapace because they work in the same way. Regeneration. Your wounds heal very quickly. Sleep gas generation. You release sleep gas. Slime glands. You produce a viscous slime that you can spit at things. Spinnerets. You can spin sticky silk webs. Stinger. Confusing venom. You bear a tail with a stinger that delivers confusing venom to your enemies. Same thing for paralyzing venom and then poisonous venom. Then we have thick fur. You're covered in a thick coat of fur which protects you from the elements. Triple jointed. Your joints stretch much farther than usual. Dude, that's kind of cool. Imagine triple jointed with the multiple arms. Yeah. Two-headed. You have two heads. Mental actions have 20% lower action costs. 50% chance to initially... 50% chance initially and each round to shake off negative mental status effects. Sorry, I had to read that one because I wanted to know what that did for you. Two-hearted. You have two hearts. That's extra toughness. Pretty cool. And then finally, wings. You can fly. It's amazing. So those are the physical mutations. Now we have physical defects. This is pretty cool. So the way this works is when you want to basically stretch yourself a little further, you can take a defect and that will give you extra points. However, you will notice that you can only take one of these, and once you've done that, it locks you out, but it does give you some extra points to spend. So for the defects, we have albino. Your skin, hair, and eyes are absent of pigment. We have amphibious. You must be kept moist with fresh water. Brittle bones. Your bones are brittle. Carnivorous. You only eat meat. Cold-blooded. Your vitality depends on your temperature. At higher temperatures, you are more lively. At lower, you are more torpid. Electromagnetic impulse. You involuntarily release electromagnetic pulses, deactivating robots and artifacts around you. Involuntary, by the way. Good luck with that one. Can't turn it off in the towns. Hooks for feet. You have hooks for feet. Yeah, you can't wear shoes. Irritable genome. Your genome is irritable and unpredictable. Myopic. You are nearsighted. Nerve poppy. You lack a developed sense of pain. Spontaneous combustion. You spontaneously erupt into flames. And then finally, tonic allergy. You are allergic to tonics. Pretty cool. Then we're going to move on to the mental mutations. As I mentioned before, some are more expensive, some are cheaper. For the mental mutations, we have beguiling. You beguile a nearby creature into serving you loyally. Burgeoning. You cause plants to spontaneously grow in a nearby area, hindering your enemies. Clairvoyance. You briefly gain vision of a nearby area. Confusion. You can confuse nearby enemies. Cryokinesis. You chill nearby area with your mind. Disintegration. You disintegrate nearby matter. Domination. You garrote an adjacent creature's mind and control its actions while your own body lies dormant. Ego projection. Through sheer force of will, you perform uncanny physical feats. Force bubble. You generate a force field around yourself. Force wall. Generate a wall of force that protects you from your enemies. Kindle. Ignite a small fire with your mind. Light manipulation. You manipulate light to your advantage. Mass mind. You tap into the aggregate mind and steal power from other espers. Mental mirror. You reflect mental attacks back at your attackers. Precognition. You peer into the near future. Psychometry. You read the history and artifacts by touching them, learning what they do and how they are made. Pyrokinesis. You hit nearby area with your mind. Sense psychic. You can sense other mental mutants through the psychic aether. Space-time vortex. You sunder space-time, sending things nearby careening through a tear in the cosmic fabric. Stunning force. You invoke a concussive force in a nearby area, throwing enemies back and stunning them. Sunder mind. You sunder the mind of an enemy, leaving them reeling in pain. Siphon Vim. You bond with a nearby organic creature and leech its life force. Telepathy. You may communicate with others through the psychic aether. Teleport other. Teleport an adjacent creature to a random nearby location. Teleportation, that one explains itself. Temporal fuge. You quickly pass back and forth through time, creating multiple copies of yourself. And then time dilation. You distort time around your person in order to slow down your enemies. Then you have mental defects. As I explained with the physical ones, you can pick one mental defect that will give you some extra points. The more severe ones will give you more points to spend. So you can spend more of them on the mental mutations. Amnesia, you forget things and places, which is kind of a big deal. Blink in tick, you teleport about uncontrollably. Dystechnia, I'm not sure how to say that. You are befuddled by technological complexity. I think it's dystechnia, yeah. Evil twin, acting on some inscrutable impulse, a parallel version of yourself travels through space and time to destroy you. That just sounds so fun, man. It's like a weird twist on that dark path starting point in Baldur's Gate, you know, the Dark Urge. It's a different version of that. Narcolepsy, you fall asleep involuntarily. Psionic migraines, you suffer from powerful psionic migraines that render your head extremely sensitive. Quantum jitters, your willful act sometimes dent space-time. And then finally, socially repugnant. I feel this one. Others find it difficult to tolerate you in social settings. Pretty cool. Okay, so we can just pick a few random things here, and then I'll show you how things progress. Once you've done doing this, you jump on forward. This is where you set your attributes. We're going to cover this twice. I'll do it for the mutated humans and then for the other guys as well. Basically, you have points to spend here, 44 points. Your choices, where you can put them, are strength, agility, toughness, intelligence, willpower, and ego. As you keep spending, I think that's your modifier, goes up. So if you spend a certain amount, you get to 0. It works the same as, you could say, I'm not sure if it's specifically D&D, but I think it's D&D, where having a neutral modifier on certain things is actually really good, and having that negative modifier can be incredibly bad. It depends on the character you're building, obviously. But strength, it determines how effectively you can penetrate your opponent's armor with melee attacks, how much damage your melee attacks do, your ability to resist forced movement, and carry capacity. Then agility. Your agility score determines your accuracy with both melee and ranged weapons, and your ability to dodge attacks. Toughness determines the number of hit points, your natural healing rate, and your ability to resist poison and disease. Intelligence score determines the number of skill points and your ability to examine artifacts. Willpower modifies the cooldowns of your activated abilities, determines your ability to resist mental attacks, and modifies your natural healing rate. And then finally, ego determines the potency of your mental mutations, your ability to haggle with merchants, and your ability to dominate the wills of other living creatures. You have a max on these, so if you push in, your max is 24. I'm not sure if it's 24 on all of them. I'm not sure if some of them have maybe more or less. Let's have a quick peek. It's 24. Okay, so you can max one of them out and then some, which is kind of cool. Once you're done with your stats over here, you move on. It gives you a quick summary of your character, and it really does give you all the information you need. You can also, from this point, export it to the clipboard or save it to the library, but that's not your final choice. Your final choice is actually not your name either. You put your name in here, so you type the name in, Lumen, and then you can pick your starting location. This is kind of cool. Each of these is tailored to sort of a different kind of experience. Joppa is your starting village. It's sort of like, let's call it the tutorial starting area. It's the basic one that they recommend for new players. Then you can start in a salt marsh village, which is a random village in the salt marshes. A interesting choice. It teaches harvestry, 50 reputation with insects and fish, and you start with a pair of Caucasians. I'm not sure what a Caucasian is. Then you can go for a Salt Dunes village. This is a random village in the Salt Dunes. Teaches the fasting way. It gives you extra reputation with reptiles. And you start with an Isakari banner. Then you can go for Desert Canyon. It's a random village in Desert Canyons. It teaches wayfaring. Then you get extra reputation with equines, tortoises, and vines. Finally, Hill Village. Random village in the hills. Teaches butchering. Extra reputation with hermits. And you start with a blood-stained neck ring. There you go. And then, when you jump in, you are gaming. Right? Good. Now we're going to go all the way back. Because there's so much more where that came from. It's time for Truekin. We just did Mutated Human. We're going to go through all the options on Truekin now. These guys have high starting attributes, access to cybernetics, 20 bonus skill points each level, bonus resistances based on arcology of origin, and then they may rebuke robots. You'll see why in just a moment, because they actually have cybernetics to choose from. These are split into 3 different castes, 3 different factions, you could call it. You'll see here that the first guys, the green guys, are the toxic Arboreta of Yukumekia, Mekii, the holy city. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Then we have the ice-sheathed arcology of Ibul and the crustal mortars of Yawning Moon. So those are your 3 choices, and you have all these different choices inside those choices. They also wear the colors of their faction, which is kind of cool. They look great. First up, we have the horticulturalist. 3 intelligence, +2 saves versus bleeding, cooking and gathering, harvestry, axe, bow and rifle, and wilderness lore jungles. Priest of all suns. They get +3 ego, saves versus bleeding, cudgel, psychic, nostrums, persuasion, snake oiler, intimidate, and then wilderness lore jungles. You will notice that there are some that are pretty constant here. Each of these will have, well, not each, but yeah, do they all have it? Yeah, wilderness lore jungles, they do all have it, exactly. And that's again because of where their holy city is, and because of the faction itself. These guys, the priest of the all moons, they are going to give you 2 extra toughness, willpower, +2 to saves versus bleeding. Again, as you can see, that's another common denominator here. Axe, butchery, lionheart, poison tolerance, and wilderness lore jungles. Then finally we have the Sizy Gyria, that gives you 3 agility, saves versus bleeding, multi-weapon fighting, multi-weapon expertise, and then wilderness lore jungles. Now, for our next set, we have the artifacts. The artifacts has 3 intelligence, cold resistance, tinker in, repair, disassemble, deploy turret, tinker 1, and tinker 2. Consul has 3 ego, 15 cold resistance, inspire and presence, and proselytize. Praetorian has extra strength, toughness, and willpower, 15 cold resistance, long blade, shield slam, shield, and bow and rifle. And then the eunuch, 2 agility, 2 intelligence, cold resistance, once again, short blade, hobble, pistol, weak spotter, acrobatics, spry, and tactics. Pretty cool. So a lot of these are going to basically change the way you start or build your character, because they have all these different bonuses to consider. Then we have the final group of guys, the red ones and or dark orange ones, I guess. It's like a burnt tomato, right? I don't know. 3 strength here on the child of the hearth, 15 heat resistance, cudgel, slam, heavy weapon, and calloused. The child of the wheel has 1 strength and 2 agility, 1 extra ego, heat resistance, once again, short blade, axe, cleave, multi-weapon fighting, and iron mind. That's a really strong selection. Child of the deep has toughness, heat resistance, heavy weapon, tank, endurance, wilderness lore, hills and mountains, wilderness lore canyons, and then our final choice is fuming god child. 4 willpower, 15 heat resistance, self-discipline, fast in way, lionheart, persuasion, intimidate, and poison tolerance. So it's a huge selection that you have here. There's just so much different stuff. Each of these could be a good choice. Each of these could be the worst choice. I guess that's just the way of Caves of Qud. But let's just take one of the basic ones here. We'll go for the Praetorian, and then I'll show you what these guys have to choose from. You got the attributes: strength, agility, toughness, intelligence, willpower, and ego. For strength, it determines how effectively you penetrate your opponent's armor with melee attacks, how much damage your melee attacks do, your ability to resist forced movement, and your carry capacity. Agility, it determines your accuracy with both melee and ranged weapons, and your ability to dodge attacks. Toughness is your number of hit points, your natural healing rate, and your ability to resist poison and disease. Intelligence determines the number of skill points and your ability to examine artifacts. Willpower modifies the cooldown of your activated abilities, determines your ability to resist mental attacks, and modifies your natural healing rate. Then your ego determines the potency of your ability to haggle with merchants, your ability to dominate the wills of other living creatures. You have 35 points to spend here. You started with a little bit more than the other guys, the mutated, but you have a max on certain stats, right? So you will notice that 26 can't go higher than that. Your modifier will be +5 then. On this one, you can't go higher than 24, and so on and so forth. You can basically see how far it would go based on the number that if it starts on 12, then the highest you can go is 24. This one will go up to 25, which doesn't help you very much because the modifier doesn't go up. But you spend these as you see fit, then you jump on to the next screen, and you have Cybernetic Implants. These are really, really cool. Kind of interesting. There's a lot of good choices here. Cybernetics are not exclusive to character creation. You get more of these as you play the game as well. But let's look at the options available. This is obviously the most important of the goodies that you get to pick on the Truekin, just like the mutations were on the mutated. So, optical bioscanner face, a minuscule graphene array that processes optical data against a repository of organic life forms. Pretty cool. Optical technoscanner face, a minuscule graphene array that processes optical data against a repository of robotic life forms and artifacts. So it's organic versus robotic. Dermal insulation body. This is pillowy fiberglass scales. They tense around a supporting axis. Once installed, they'll unwind and inflate under the skin, which sounds terrifying. But yeah, there it is. Then you can choose those for the body, for the head, and for the back. And you will notice as I go through here, you can only pick one of these. So choose wisely. Night vision, that one explains itself. Nerve-packed retina scatters incoming radiation and bends light, so the irises turn jade. Hyperelastic ankle tendons. Banded ropes of hydrogel are bundled into one. Parabolic muscular subroutine. Nerve bundles so arranged to stimulate muscles in the arm along a parabolic slide rule. Yeah, pretty cool. Translucent skin. The diaphanous dermis throws this my god, circulatory, muscular, and nervous networks into silhouetted relief. And then you got that for the back and the body. It's crazy, dude. What kind of nonsense do they have here? I love it. Stabilizer arm locks. Chrome clasps fasten arm joints to emulate the stillness of unlife. Rapid release finger flexors. Oh my god. Neuronically charged tissue sheaths transmit the will faster than what cell biology has achieved. That's crazy. It makes you fire faster with pistols. Carbide hand bones. Blue carbide merely dents where weak collagen would be smashed to bits. Pentaceps. Quartet of knee joint extensors. Gain the assistance of synthetic fifth. Okay, a synthetic fifth. So it's an extra, like... Oof. Is that like a knee charge? Is that what it is? You go faster? I don't know. Inflatable axons. Nanoscopic stents inflate the gossamer brain threads that restrict the conduction of the will. Wow, these descriptions. And then cherubic visage. That one at least I can understand. Carnal instructions dictate the formation of the face's bone structure and plump tissue mass into a soft and angelic countenance. Through such thaumaturgy, the people of Hori Ibul, cradled in the breast of the collapsed ice shelf, wander its lamplighted streets in rosy-cheeked disinterest. And then you can finally pick none, which just gives you minus license tier and toughness. Pretty crazy, right? Then it gives you a summary of your characters. If you had picked some cybernetics there, then it would have put it in there for you. And then after you've entered your name, you jump in and you choose your starting location. You can start in the village of Joppa, which is recommended for new players. It's sort of like the grassy lowlands. Then you can start in the salt marsh villages, which gives you a random village in the salt marshes. The villages there will teach harvestry. You get extra reputation with insects and fish. And you start with a pair of crocossins. Then You can pick a random village in the Salt Dunes, where they teach the fast-in way, 100 reputation with reptiles, and you start with an Isakari banner. You can pick a random desert in the village canyon. The village will teach wayfaring. You get 50 reputation with equines, tortoises, and vines, and then finally you can do a random hill village. They teach butchering. They have 100 reputation with hermits, and then you start with bloodstained neck ring. And that's your final choice. After this, you jump in and you are gaming. That is, however, not the end of this video. There's more. There's actually one more thing. The random option. And I kind of love this. It is just basically a full randomize for the entire system here. And when you click it, it takes you straight to the build summary. And it just tells you, hey, here's a character, go with it. And I think that this is a pretty fantastic way to start up a random run. If you just want to do something that's a bit of a challenge, and you want something without the choice, the burden of choosing your own stuff, you just go. You just go. Then, if you want to keep randomizing, you just press R down here, and it keeps going through them. And it's kind of great because it gives you your random visual appearance, your cosmetic choice here. It chooses, obviously, your sub-choices for that, and then it chooses your mutations and your cybernetics just like that as well. Stats are also randomized completely, so you can jump in here, and honestly, you can basically find some really cool and interesting stuff. I would heartily recommend, if you are really into games like this, trying something like this, or if you don't try something like this specifically, try something like the daily system that they have in, because there's obviously a lot of cool options. But, you know, for me personally, I think most of the fun is actually building your own character. I've enjoyed the idea of sort of making it thematic characters, where you choose your character to be a certain someone or something, and then you work with that. It's really cool. But that does bring us to the end of this video. My guys, Caves of Qud is just phenomenal. It's an awesome game, and the character creator, yeah, it's right there with it. It's right up there with the rest of it. It gives you so many cool options. It gives you so much freedom, and I think that the most important part is that it gives you the ability to contribute, to add to the story that you are jumping into. It allows you to do that, and this game is all about that. This game is all about storytelling. It has these sort of pockets of craziness that pop up, but they all get strung together into this overarching story, and no two runs will be the same. And all these different options here in character creation help lend to that. They give you all these different and amazing and fun and crazy choices, but it's so cool. Yeah, I love it. So hey, thanks for joining me for this character creation video. I hope that you guys are playing and enjoying Caves of Qud. I myself definitely am. Yeah. Give this video a like, share it, and do all that other good stuff. Let me know what your favorite part is. Let me know perhaps what you started with. I'd love to hear. You can find my links below. My coffee page and my Twitch channel and all the rest. And hey, happy making those characters, dudes. Happy that.